Welcome to Dakman Productions and welcome to Conahey Rail. Today we have a very special video. Now, for those of you who follow my channel for a long time, you know that Conahey Rail runs Conrail trains and O-gauge. And every year, April 1st, I put together a video showing the Conahey Rail version of Enola Yard. No different this time. I'll show you some other things as well. And I'll show you some of my Conrail collection other than the locomotives this time around. I'm also going to show you some of the highlights of my Conrail Memorabilia collection. On April 1st, 1976, the government had announced they're getting into the railroad business and they were going to call it Conrail. And the logo of Conrail was designed and has a meaning behind it. It stands for steel wheels on steel rails. Now, people, when they read about this, and being as how that announcement was made April 1st, they thought it was an April Fool's joke. But to the rail fans and people who worked for these failing railroads, it became reality. There were multiple railroads that were failing. Penn Central was the biggest one. It ended up being a huge failure. Penn Central was formed in 1968 between New York Central and the Pennsylvania Railroad. The problem with the decisions from upper management is that they did not do any consolidations at all. There was duplicate tracks. They didn't consolidate any of the employees, and sometimes, you know, in business you have to make that decision to consolidate, and unfortunately you got to cut jobs and reduce costs, and none of that was done. And it was so bad, the costs were so bad that they allegedly Penn Central had to borrow money from the government, and then allegedly they took some of the money and put it into the stocks to make it look like they were looking good so more people would invest more money. And at the end of the day, they still went broke because they did not do any consolidation. And unfortunately, there was people who lost not only their jobs, but ones who invested into Penn Central lost a lot of money. Some people even losing their life savings. It was the biggest scandal until the Enron Corporation in the 80s. Penn Central, when Penn Central was failing again, they actually created a video of their tracks in bad condition where they're derailing in the yard at only 5 miles an hour. You can see the rail cars shaking at the top. They had some ridiculous amount of freight cars out of service. I think it was like 100,000 freight cars out of service. And they actually sent this to the government asking them for money again. What did they think was going to happen? But at any rate, you had other ones who weren't failing as bad, but they were still going bankrupt. Matter of fact, Jersey Central probably takes a good number 2 in that. They went bankrupt 3 times, and the last time they went bankrupt was in '74, so they pretty much just about ceased operations in 1974. Other ones who weren't far along were Reading, Erie, Lackawanna, Lehigh Valley, New Haven. But you notice a pattern to all these names? They were all East Coast railroads. And when the government seen this, they hit the panic button because these failing railroads were all on the East Coast. If they all failed, then there would be a supply chain disruption, a total disruption on the East Coast. And another thing you got to ask yourself, why would the government give them money if they keep failing over and over again? So they decided, hey, we'll just take over these railroads and we'll bring it back from a failing railroad to a profitable railroad. That's when Conrail was formed, or Consolidated Rail, Conrail for short. Conrail, being formed, took these failing railroads, grouped them all together, rebuilt the tracks, they streamlined how things were done, they consolidated their trackage. So if there was duplicate trackage, they got rid of those duplicates. If there was a run that was shorter, they got rid of that longer run. I hear people complain all the time. Oh, Conrail ripped up the track by my house. I don't like them. Well, they had to consolidate in business. That's just how it goes. Conrail eventually turned everything around, and they started being profit making again. They literally took failing railroads and they turned everything around into a profitable railroad. So I'm sure there's people wondering, oh, Conrail, 50 years, how's that even possible? They went out of business in 1999. Norfolk Southern and CSX had to bail them out. It's like, what? Where are you guys getting this information from? Wow. So let's do some real facts here. In 1999, Conrail was still a profitable business. They were making money. They did not go bankrupt. They did not go broke. How are you even thinking that Norfolk Southern or CSX had to bail the government out? I'll never understand that. But some of the stuff that I read online is totally in left field. But what really happened is that there was a program that came up that needed to be funded. And so in order to fund this program, the government decided they no longer wanted to be in the railroad business. They would sell off this profitable railroad. They would have never sold it if it wasn't profitable, because they were confident enough that they built this railroad up and it was profitable. And so if they offered it to the private sector, they were confident enough that it should remain, profitable. And that's what really happened. So they took the sale from selling Conrail and ended up using it for another project. So Norfolk Southern and CSX both ended up buying Conrail, and it was split between them. However, there were certain areas that could not be split. There were areas in North Jersey, areas in Philadelphia, areas in Detroit that just could not be split between the both. So Conrail Shared Asset Operations was formed. So Conrail really didn't die in 1999. Basically, you can say it changed hands. And I know what you guys are going to say, that's not true. It's really owned by Norfolk Southern and CSX. Well, it's still being operated as Conrail. Even though there's a new owner, does not necessarily mean that company stops existing. And there's people that's like, well, I don't see any Conrail locomotives. Well, that's because Conrail Shared Asset Operations leases locomotives from CSX and Norfolk Southern. Maybe one day they might have their own equipment, but for now, they lease. That's why you don't see Conrail locomotives. Conrail today actually makes end deliveries. They do switching yard operations. So they are still around. Matter of fact, they still even have a CEO. So why would you have a Conrail CEO if Conrail was really out of business? They're not. So the CEO of Conrail today, Conrail Shared Asset Operations, is Brian Gorton. And they still operate today. And he is the current 2026 CEO. And he is actually, his title is Conrail CEO. So even though they're using the Conrail Shared Asset Operations name, it's still, they just call it Conrail. So basically, same company, different owner. The Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania is going to host Conrail Days May 30th and May 31st. Why they wouldn't do it in April, I don't know. But at any rate, that's cool. I'm good with that. I'll go. The Conrail CEO, the current one, 2026, will be there. And I hope I run into him, because I would love to interview this guy to put this to bed that Conrail doesn't exist. But at any rate, we're going to go ahead and take a look around. I'm going to show you my memorabilia and show you my Conrail or Conahey Rail, Conrail Enola Yard, and go from there. So let's have some fun. My newest prize possession is this Conrail corporate flag. And yes, that is a real Conrail corporate flag that was actually flown at a terminal facility. I was so happy to get this. I can't express to you guys how much. I mean, this was something that was on my wanted list. I didn't think I would ever own one. It's something that you would only see in a museum. I've only seen one other, and the Railroaders Museum of Pennsylvania, the Railroaders Memorial Museum of Pennsylvania in Altoona has one. When I visited the Conrail Historical Museum out there in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania, it inspired me to start my own Conrail memorabilia collection. So today, this is what I have so far. We have all kinds of Conrail memorabilia that I'm going to show you. Operating manuals, other operating manuals, Eastern Region table. I believe there's another one. Atlantic Region timetable. Here we have the Pittsburgh Division, safety rules, system map, instructions for supervisors, Conrail crossings. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that I've been collecting. There you guys go. Conrail's Conway Yard, safety rules, clerks, trainman. This one seems to be a common one that's out there. You can find this pretty easy. Here you have continuous quality improvement program book, Conrail Operation Lifesaver. Then we have a patch, Enola Yard, a safety first band, conductor's hat. Conrail had ran passenger trains, for those who don't know. There you have some pins. That's a knife, I believe. More pins. This is a cool one here. Conrail Christmas ornament. Certified safety pin. Some other things in here. They used to have stores with memorabilia or with Conrail corporate names on them. These are real out of service tags. Those are 100% real. Conrail safety glasses. This was, the museum also has this particular Conrail program. That's an actual award, safety award. This is the 1998 EH Harriman Memorial Award. We have a Conrail lantern. That does work. Frisbees from the Conrail store back in the day. Another award. And then we have a Conrail ornament there. Then we have a Conrail Labor Management Project cups there. A couple more lanterns. There's a Operation Lifesaver mug. Here we have a Conrail. I believe this is a book from 1994, so you can put your dates in there where you're going. Timetable, Philadelphia Division. Hazardous materials regulations. Cab signals. Conrail cab signal card. Somebody actually gave me books on the proposed Conrail acquisition by CSX and Norfolk Southern. So this tells you all about the acquisition or proposed acquisition of Conrail. So this acquisition actually started back in 1997. The proposal wasn't completed until 1999. So there you guys go. Those books do explain, and those are real books. Those proposal books are 100% real. Here we have a 1980 Conrail directory. This came from the Clyde Tower. Accident incident reports. Here we have I gotta get these out, but someone gave me a whole bunch of photos of Conrail stuff. And then that's a book I got from Train Show. Then we have the Conrail first aid kit. Ellen made this for me, a fan of the channel. So here we have the Conrail division, like a coloring book for kids. Ellen also gave me this magazine as well. And then we have official Conrail, they called it the Information Station magazines. I have a few of those. Then the actual Conrail magazine. And of course, Coal and Transportation Guide, Conrail the source. Besides the hat I'm wearing, here's some other Conrail hats that I have collected over time. Really love that South Jersey Conrail division since I live in South Jersey. Of course, you can't be a Conrail fan without the signs showing that you are. That's a real sign that was given to me about a year or so ago. This right here was actually presented to me on the Train Shop Weekly show 3 or 4 years back. Another sign there. Of course, we had to have the Conrail 1976 to 1999 sign showing the railroads that Conrail actually took over. I forgot about the Ann Arbor. The train master made this seat for me, custom seat. He did a real nice job. Really happy how that came out. Now the moment everybody's been waiting for. Enola Diesel Terminal on Conahey Rail in O-Gauge. So these are all the Conrail locomotives I own in O-Gauge. So first up we have this EMD SD70 Mac. This is a line-out locomotive from the Conrail safety set. Originally supposed to be made by K-Line. K-Line went out of business. Lionel bought K-Line and went ahead and made the sets. Next up, we have a Conrail Patch Penn Central EMD GP30, a Conrail Patch Reading Unit EMD GP30, a Conrail EMD SD900, Conrail EMD GP9 Patch Penn Central locomotive, Conrail EMD GP9, Conrail EMD GP9B. Yes, they really did have a couple of these. There was a couple left. And after that, we have the Conrail EMD SD40. Next up, we have the Conrail EMD E9A from the Conrail OCS set. Conrail SD50, We Support Our Troops version. After that, we have a EMD SD38. Lionel made two different versions of these, one with the can opener logo and one with the quality logo, which both are correct. I decided to buy just the can opener version. We have the Lionel Vision Line Conrail number 4800 in the Bicentennial paint scheme. Conrail EMD GP30, Conrail EMD SD40-2, one of my favorite locomotives. Here we have the Lionel Mistake locomotive, super rare to find. This is a EMD GP35. They forgot to put the font on it, and so not many got out before they stopped sending them out. So these are really kind of scarce. Behind that is the actual corrected locomotive shell for the EMD GP35, but it seemed like most people turned their locomotives in or canceled their orders, so there was quite a bit of shells out there. Next up, we have the powerhouses of Conrail. EMD SD80 Mac locomotives. These were made in 2012. Yes, there are new ones that are coming up in the soon to be made from the last catalog, so yep, I'll be buying probably the other two to go with these to have 5 altogether. These run my coal drag for those who watch my videos. Next up, we have a Conrail GE U30C, a Conrail GE U28C, Conrail SD70 Mac. This is from the Big Blue set. There was an add-on locomotive as well. I think it was number 4138. Finally, Conrail number 5510, which is a EMD SD60M. So there you guys go. The Conahey Rail Enola Diesel Terminal. Alright, so let's check out some of my Conrail rolling stock. Now, I'm not going to show it all because not all of it is accessible right now, and I don't feel like pulling it out. But anyway, so here we go. hope you guys enjoyed the Conrail 50th celebration so far. I had plans of going to that Conrail 50 celebration at the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania, so hopefully I'll see you guys there. And I'm hoping to have, I'm trying to set up an interview with a ex-Conrail engineer. Won't give out too much information yet, but I'm still working on that. But in the meantime, I'll catch you guys at the next train show, next event. I'll catch you trackside. Goodbye.